مجمع الأندلس التعليمي، تعلم عصري ملهم بهوية وطنية وقيم إسلامية.
Unit 3 Reading The Coral Island. Discuss in pairs or in groups. Why do you think sea adventures feature so strongly in Qatari literature? Have you read any stories or novels about a sea adventure? If yes, what was the story about? If no, what would you expect to read about in a sea adventure story or novel? Below is an extract from Chapter 1 of an adapted version of the novel The Coral Island. Read the extract quickly, then write a just statement in which you state who and what the story is mainly about. Use the following prompt. This story is mainly about... You should read quickly and find out the main characters, الشخصيات الرئيسية على اللي بتدور حولهم القصة، وكذلك الخطوط الرئيسية للقصة، الفكرة الرئيسية للقصة. Now, read the extract carefully and answer the questions. Choose A, B, C or D. ونصيحتي لكم كالعادة اقرأوا الأسئلة جيدا قبل قراءة النص.
The Coral Island. My name is Ralph. I was born into a family of adventurers. My father, grandfather, and great-grandfather were all sea captains who devoted their lives to exploring distant places. I used to love listening to stories about their adventures and would spend hours dreaming about exotic destinations and thrilling adventures on the open sea. When I turned 15, I decided that the time had come to travel to the Pacific. My father, who was a very strict and stubborn man, said I was too young for such a long trip, but I eventually managed to convince him to let me join the crew of a merchant ship called the Arrow. Within a few short weeks, I was on my way to the Coral Islands. I was sad and anxious to leave my parents and the safety of my home, but I was also very excited about the adventures that lay ahead and proud of my newfound independence. I made two friends on board the Arrow. Their names were Jack and Peterkin. Jack was a strong young man of 18 who was well-educated and fearless. Peterkin, on the other hand, was an optimistic, amusing, and fun-loving 14-year-old boy. He always made jokes and had a story to tell. For the most part, our journey was peaceful. We experienced some rough weather when we reached Cape Horn, the southern tip of America, but we managed to move on without much difficulty. A few weeks later, we were sailing on the deep waters of the Pacific Ocean. After a long voyage, the Coral Islands finally came into view, and I'll never forget the moment when I first laid eyes on one of those beautiful islands. The stunning white beaches and emerald green palm trees took my breath away. My friends and I were filled with wonder. We were certain we'd found the most beautiful place on Earth. One night, soon after we'd entered the tropics, a tropical storm started. Huge, violent waves beat our ship for almost a week. and during that time, nearly everything was swept off the deck and into the sea, except for one small boat. On the 6th day of the storm, we noticed an island ahead of us. The island was surrounded by a coral reef which protected it from the violent waves. The lagoon, the stretch of water inside the reef, was surprisingly calm. We were going to steer the ship through a narrow gap in the reef, but a powerful wave destroyed our rudder, leaving us helpless against the storm. Our only hope was to lower the boat into the water and row to the shore. But the boat was too small to carry us all to safety, so my friends and I came up with another plan. "The ship is going to hit the reef!" shouted Jack above the roar of the storm. "When it does, the three of us will hold on to an oar and jump into the lagoon. Hopefully, we'll end up on the shore." Just then, an enormous wave came crashing onto the deck. The ship struck the coral reef, and some of the members of the crew were thrown into the ocean. Jack, Peterkin, and I grabbed hold of an oar and dived into the water. I must have passed out, because the last thing I remember was the desperate cries of the sailors as the ship was being swallowed up by the sea.
D. Read the extract again and do the activities that follow. 1. Choose the option that best indicates the purpose of the text. وعندما نتحدث عن غرض النص يجب علينا أن نعرف نوع النص أولا. نوع النص اللي قرأناه كان قصة a story أو narrative. أحيانا بيكون في القصص أغراض ثانوية secondary purposes مثل إعطاء معلومات أو إقناع القارئ بفكرة معينة، لكن غالبا the main purpose الغرض الرئيسي بيكون to entertain the reader، يعني تسلية القارئ. to entertain the reader with an account of a sea adventure. 2. Read the following statements and take the ones that apply to the text. The writer عندنا عدة جمل، عدة عبارات نريد أن نختار منها ما ينطبق فعليا على القصة. نجد أن الجمل التي تنطبق على القصة هي B. The writer makes use of direct speech، العبارات والجمل النصية المباشرة في حوار مباشر بين الشخصيات. C. The writer refers to events in the order in which they occurred، بيشير إلى أحداث مرتبة زمن نفس الترتيب اللي حدثت في تلك الأحداث. و F. The writer uses descriptive language in the form of adjectives and adverbs، الكاتب يستخدم اللغة الوصفية ويركز خاصة على الصفات والظروف. E. Read the sentences taken from the extract on the previous page. Choose the point A to D that best describes how the tense in each sentence is being used. إذن في الجمل الأربعة من 1 إلى 4 1 2 3 and 4 يجب علينا تحديد الزمن المستخدم في كل جملة. الخطوة الثانية أن نحدد وصف ذلك الزمن من خلال الأربع عبارات الموجودة بأسفل A, B, C and D. فمثلا في الجملة الأولى نجد الزمن المستخدم هو past simple، الماضي البسيط. نجد واضح في الأفعال was, were and devoted. لماذا استخدم زمن past simple في هذه الجملة؟ Because all of them are completed actions in the past، أحداث اكتملت وانتهت في الماضي. بينما الجملة رقم 2 He always made jokes and had a story to tell، أيضا past simple he made، لكن مصحوبة بكلمة always. إذن هنا نحن نتحدث عن past habits، عادات في الماضي، or repeated actions in the past، أحداث متكررة في الماضي. 3. A few weeks later we were sailing on the deep waters of the Pacific. طبعا هنا were sailing هذا زمن ال past progressive، زمن الماضي المستمر. طيب لماذا استخدم هذا الزمن past progressive؟ طبعا for temporary past state or actions، لحالات مؤقتة في الماضي، شغلت فترة زمنية مؤقتة وانتهت. أخيرا مع number 4. Jack Peterkin and I grabbed hold of an oar and dived into the water. إذن هنا نجد في فعلين grabbed and dived، الفعلين تتابعا في الحدوث، وهذا هو وصف زمن الماضي البسيط هنا. B. Completed actions that happened one after the other in the past، أحداث متتابعة في الماضي. F. Find the adjective the writer uses in the text to describe the names or situations below. ومحتاج سيادتك ترجع للنص مرة أخرى لتجد الصفات المستخدمة لوصف هذا الشخص أو هذا الموقف. فمثلا number 1 Ralph's father. How does the writer describe Ralph's father؟ نجد أن الكاتب وصف أبو رالف بأنه strict حازم وصارم and stubborn وعنيد. على نفس النمط أرجو قراءة النص مرة أخرى وتحديد الصفات في كل جملة. G. Now decide which of these adjectives refer to a person's character and use a thesaurus to find synonyms for them. يعني سيادتك من التمرين السابق، من النشاط السابق E. تحدد الصفات التي يمكن استخدامها لوصف الشخصية، ثم ترجع لقاموس المترادفات لتحدد بعض المرادفات لهذه الصفات. الخطوة الأولى وفرناها عليك وكتبنا الصفات التي يمكن استخدامها لوصف a person's character. فالشخصية ممكن تكون strict صارمة وحازمة، stubborn عنيدة، well educated متعلمة تعليم جيد، fearless ما بيخاف شجاع، optimistic متفائل، fun loving محب للمرح، and amusing مسلي. عليك ترجع للقاموس وتحدد بعض المرادفات لهذه الصفات.